So no dirty jokes, Bob.
I don't know any.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a few when I see you in October then. All right, well, it is 3:02, so why don't we go ahead and get started? I know that Todd Kessler is on the call. Hopefully he is available. I know he was going to do some introductions. Real quick, I just wanted to make a quick commercial. My name is Lori Mason. I'm the executive director of FPDA, and we are really glad that you could join us for this engaging presentation. I know Tom knows a lot of folks on the call. I see that there are a handful of our future Leaders in Motion, our FLM folks that are on board here. So the incoming class. So we certainly welcome you. For those who are not engaged, we do have a few mentor positions still available for the class. So if anybody's interested, please feel free to reach out to me or Chris Houston or Bill Haley at any time. And we'd love to help you get engaged. So with that, thank you for the quick commercial. And Todd, if you'd like to take it from here, we'll get going.
All right. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Kessler, Air Hydropower. It's my pleasure today to introduce Tom Rogers. Tom has over 30 years of hands-on experience working in supply chain operations in a variety of industries. This experience, in addition to his technical background, creates strategic and sustainable solutions for his clients. Tom has delivered consulting services in the areas of facility planning and design, productivity and labor planning, inventory analysis, and WMS systems development for a number of manufacturing companies. He is currently working with companies that belong to FPDA, and I've had the privilege to discuss this subject matter with Tom when he recently visited us with Livingston and Haven. His insights from that visit helped us think outside the box, and we are now investigating a new receiving method for large product/production order receiving process that could save tremendous amount of time, if hours and hours a day. And with that, Tom?
Well, thank you, Todd. That last little bit, little surprising. So I appreciate that. I think I know what you're talking about with the license plating, but appreciate the introduction. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you on. We'll let Paul get in here first before I get into it. To speak about things that I see out in manufacturing and operations, out in all my clients. And one of those that kind of bubbled to the top as I was working with Livingston and Haven and talking to their group was production planning. And as we all know, with supply chain challenges and staffing challenges, our ability to plan needs to get better and better. And so what I thought I would do today is really kind of walk through for those who may be just thinking about production planning, for those who are in the middle of production planning, and even those who are full-blown mature into a production planning process, just some thoughts and some pieces to maybe help get you started or look for that next level of expertise and that next level of improvement. So with that, let's see if, there you go. First off, here's me. Pretty picture, very, very digitally enhanced for sure. But at the end of the day, I have a background in engineering. I've got a bachelor's degree in mechanical, a master's in industrial engineering. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of Ohio in industrial engineering. I've been teaching at Ohio State. Please don't hold that against me, since 2013 in the areas of capacity planning, lean logistics, and all industrial engineering types of roles. And then on top of that, I am a subject matter expert for other companies, Magnet, Cohen and Company, National Medical Logistics, Sedlak, and the Columbus State Community College MEP, to name a few. So with that, really, I'll just move on. If you have any questions, what I've asked Lori to do is kind of pay attention to the hand raise. So just raise your hand, and you can ask it at that time, or you can hold them to the end, and we can flip back to a slide if I missed something. So the questions, let's get everybody in the right area. Does this stuff sound familiar? When I go into clients, I hear a lot of comments, and they relate to these, right? Do you know the staffing you need to satisfy customer orders on time? Do you have the equipment and the staffing capacity to satisfy those customer orders? Is your supply chain, purchasing, logistics, are they in sync to satisfy those orders on time as well? And then do you track and use productivity data on staff and equipment for future planning? Lastly, what kind of software do you use to communicate with this with all areas of the business? So point is, we could probably come up with another 20 more, but hopefully some of these sound familiar to you. They just stuff that I've seen in the past. Does this look familiar? Where you're playing whack-a-mole every day, every week, every month. I have clients that some months they're celebrating because their on-time delivery and their execution is great. Other months it isn't so great. And so my question to them is, what did you do to be great? What did you do to, miss? And that's where, production planning comes in, because usually it's just brute force focus that gets it done. So with that, I'd just like to talk about production planning goals. When you think about production planning, what are you really trying to manage? What are you really trying to accomplish, right? These are 5 things that I think are key pieces, right? Resource estimation. How many people, how much equipment do I need to satisfy my orders in the time that my customers expect those orders to be done? So understanding that estimation, key piece. Resource utilization, understanding how much capacity I have, how much am I using that capacity to get out product and schedule that product on time. Optimum inventory levels. Again, have I looked at my inventory, knowing what my customer orders are, knowing what my customer demand is, in order to have the products where they need to be? And then ultimately, for all of you, right, it all matters about cost, right? How do I do all of this at the lowest cost possible? And then ultimately, if consumer satisfaction could be a bigger circle, it would. But ultimately, this leads to, on-time delivery and customer satisfaction. And so all these play a big part to support that. What are you doing to find those pieces and get the level of detail? So what I thought I'd do today is really kind of talk through that. Key factors, where to start. As you've seen, I'm an engineer by trade. Data. The other piece is what kind of a team do you have? What kind of production planning team is feeding this production plan to make sure that it's successful in every step? The hard part about this is when everybody thinks about production planning, immediate focus really kind of goes on, well, I put the work on the floor, did it get done? And are those work centers getting done what I need to get done to ship out the door? But really, when you think about production planning, it starts from the time sales are putting in dates, to supply chain buying the product, to the work center, to shipping it out the door and making sure that you have the right team in place to do that is key. And then ultimately, when you have that production plan, what kind of visual tools do you have available to all the parties that need to execute at that level to know where they're at, where others are at, and how well your success is with this. So I thought I'd go into each one of these a little bit more, just to kind of show the not only the complexity, but I'll say whether you're a $1 million revenue company or $100 million revenue company, these pieces apply. How you go about using this data, again, depends on complexity and depends on what your willingness is to, automate this process. And we'll show some examples of that as well. So data collection, really three key pieces to that: your staff, your equipment, and your materials. So on your staffing side, this is an example, but you really need, as a company, if you're going into production planning and you're thinking about how to plan effectively, you really need to do an assessment on your staff, and you really need to understand by employee what their skill set is. I'll give you a really good example. If you plan everything out and you have the right product in and you put it into the work center and it gets to the dock and you don't have anybody certified to load that truck because the only person certified is either on vacation or they were sick that day, you're going to miss a date. And so your production plan essentially fails. And so it's really important that you take a step back and look at your employees, really look at your skill sets by area, whether it's warehouse, whether it's assembly, even test or fabrication, and really start to hone in on do you have resources that can do all of the job or part of the job and they need supervision, right? Or do you have people who can be teachers to move on? This at the very base, again, my recommendation, what I see out there is the ability to do this. Why this matters, again, this folds into things like, now that I know what my people can do, here's all of this equipment that I have jobs for, right? Well, those people can only do certain things. So this particular example, this was a company that I worked with about a year ago. When you look at the staffing, they had 32 people on staff. But when they did their skills matrix and they looked at who could do what, as you can see, right? Hey, if I've got a mini bender job or a weld job, or I can use this new press brake on these sales orders that are coming in, I'm awesome because I've got resources every single shift that can handle that. If I've got a Heartland job or a Core-Tech or I have to use the old press brake, I'm in a little bit of trouble because I don't have a resource right now trained available to, again, do that job. And again, I highlighted some three key areas. One is it's great to have a 3-shift operation and resources on every shift. But when I get to a shear, right, I'm missing one. And in this particular example, they had a bliss. It's a particular machine, if you're not familiar with it. And they only had one person on second shift that knew how to do that job. So everything grinded to a halt for any kind of a job that required the bliss. So it's really important that you not only match what your skill sets are, but where that falls in line with the equipment that you need to use and the jobs coming in. Any questions so far? Okay. The other thing we need to understand is on the equipment itself, what kind of production rates, what kind of production goals do we have off that equipment, right? And it's really getting into, for this particular company, it was down at the part level. We knew the part, the machine it was on, the mill, and its productivity rate. So now I can marry a job that comes in. How long is it going to take on this particular piece of equipment? Do I have a resource? How long that needs to take? Because I may have 40 hours of work, a 40-hour run on a particular order. And if I don't have the capacity in 3 shifts, instead of it taking 1 to 2 days, it may take a week to get done. So it's really important at the very, very foundation of going into production planning to begin to document these numbers. Can these numbers improve? Absolutely. This is where continuous improvement comes into effect. But having the data based on what your current standards are is critical for any production planner to be successful at putting together a production plan. So that's kind of step one. Step two is really getting that planning team right, and right by, again, I've got a production planner, right? That person is really that gatekeeper to take all of this information and put it together in an executable plan, an executable schedule. But who are those influencers? Who are those members of that team that really need to help guide and inform those production planners on the factors that affect every day and the schedule? Supply chain, right? Critical to know what lead times are, what challenges are in the lead time, so that we can make sure that when we create a schedule, the parts are where they need to be. Leads and supervisors, right? They're the ones, again, in the trenches, on the floor, knowing who's out, who's in, who's being trained, who can do what. So it's critical that they're providing input and feedback to those production planners, making sure that when they're building that plan, they're scheduling the right amount of hours, not necessarily the people, but the right amount of hours in each area based on the known capacity, right? Sales and customer service, again, critical part of this. They're really the eyes and the ears of the customer, knowing, really maybe not a forecast, but knowing what's coming, what might be coming, what challenges are, feedback from customers, all of those things that affect us executing at a level that really in this day and age really needs to be in above 90%. And then ultimately it's the back end, right? It's the fulfillment and the logistics and warehousing and fulfillment center that really helps. They're the last step, right? So if I get everything done right and it gets to the shipping floor and I don't have shipping instructions, or I don't know, I'll give you a good example. There was a moment where uh, uh, something was going to get finished. It needed to ship on a flatbed truck, and there was a certain flatbed carrier that was requested. Well, if fulfillment and logistics doesn't know that, they don't know to tell the whole planning team that's a 48-hour request. I can't just call them today and they show up today. I have to call them 48 hours in advance to create that schedule. So all of those factors, all of those influencers play a key role in making sure that a production plan that's put together, whether it's put together by a system or a person at a very manual level, all of those factors really need to be known so that production planner can be successful in executing and putting together a plan. Any questions? Nothing so far? Okay. And then ultimately, right, the materials, right? Having the right material in the right place at the right time in the right quantity. So critical to make sure that that plan is in sync with your inventory levels, your min maxes, your lead times from vendors, and that just a critical piece to be successful. So one of the last things I want to talk about is, right, so we've got the data, right? We've gathered that data. We've put together a team that really can influence and tell and provide feedback so we can be as successful as possible. We've gathered the data to make sure that we're making good decisions based on known measurements. Now, how do we make sure that visually people understand what that schedule is and understand that when things happen, when they happen, when they occur, and how to be flexible in fixing and resolving. So I just put a few examples of past clients that I've made recommendations to. You know, it can be as simple as a whiteboard that, you know, you have jobs, you have steps, and the process flows along. And it can be as simple as this for whether you're a $100 million company or you're a $1 million company. It can be as simple as a simple little job board like this. You can go on Uline today and get any of these, right? Here's a little different manual process, but a little more complexity in, again, you can see here, I've got equipment, I've got days, I've got jobs, I've got people. Again, all manual. I haven't bought $1 million, $2 million system to be able to automate this for me, but it allows me to put together a schedule that visually I can see what needs to get done, when it needs to get done, and really add up the resources, the capacity, and uh, real time where things are at in a very visual way. There's this thing called Excel, which is awesome. Here's an example of what I did for a client about a year ago, that based on data that you pulled together, based on jobs coming in, they basically would run a queue, basically a cut and paste into this model, and then this model would automatically calculate by press, by machine, what hours were needed to satisfy orders for those particular dates. So even if you don't have a very expensive system, you can use Excel and build some nice little models that really help you start to plan what really needs to happen. You know, you can see down here in this 112, I just had an order that's 210 hours. Well, that's going to take, based on my capacity, that's going to take 30 days to do, right? Now all of a sudden I've got a resource locked for the next 30 days. So again, Excel, I think, is a powerful tool and can be used very easily with the right data to help people start to plan and start to see where the focus should be. Any questions? You know, and then I won't get into the ERP side of things, but I know some of you are either using ERPs, moving to new ERPs, looking at automated versions of scheduling, and ERPs. You know, they're only as good as the data you put in. They, as you can see, very nice, very pretty, and can get very, very complex. But all of this foundationally is backed by the data that you collected at the very base and the very beginning of this presentation. All of that data feeds this. I, I've got countless stories. I hate to say this, but I have countless stories of companies that invest in ERPs, invest in scheduling, put this data in, and recently I had one about a year and a half ago, that $100 million company that had a pretty good ERP scheduling software, but their production manager, whether he believed it or he didn't believe it or whatever, got up at 4 a.m. every day. They had about 30, 40 different pieces of equipment, and he rewrote this production schedule every single day because he just did not have faith in the system. So again, whether you're using a system or you're being manual, it's really critical that the data that you get, you pull, you collect, you document is, one, maintained, but two, everybody signs off on it, because you spend a lot of money on a particular system that you may not be using. And I could tell you, it just seems like production managers do not want a system telling them what to do. But again, so who can help, right? The biggest part of this, right? Whether you're a million or 100 million, you're busy, and it's not like you have a resource sitting around that can go collect all this data and put it together and help frame all of this. And so, what are those resources that can help any one of you? Again, $1 million company, $100 million company. One is, it's called the National Manufacturing Extension Partnership. I don't know who is aware of these or who isn't. I am a subject matter expert for at least 2 of them in the state of Ohio, but you can go to the website nist.gov MEP/centers. These are federally funded nonprofit consulting firms, mission based on keeping growing manufacturing within their region. That is their only mission. And to do that, they have access to federal grant money, state grant money, and can use it for companies, manufacturers like all of you, that are growing, are adding equipment, are adding people, and are growing the local economy. I'm more than happy to introduce you to them. Again, I've got about with the one here in Cleveland, which is where I live. I've got an 18-year partnership with, and we have one down at Columbus State. Again, because I'm affiliated with Ohio State, Columbus State Community College, MEP. I've had about a 6-year partnership with them, and so they have availability to resources, not only grant money, but people like me that can come in and help you, and they're typically offsetting my fees based on grant money that they have available to them. So a resource that I don't know how many people are familiar with or not, but certainly a path to go down in requesting some help and resources to gather this data. Any questions on the MEP at all? And then finally, again, I'll pull on my Ohio State hat. One of the things that I teach is capstone projects, right? And if you're not familiar with capstone programs, we at Ohio State, we go out to the local community, whether they're manufacturers or distributors or whoever, and we want to help them with real life projects. We want our students who are graduating with a body of knowledge that they understand how to do work out in the real world. And so I've got, this, I'll talk about me personally. For the fall semester, I've got 8 different projects with, everybody from from Honda to do ergonomic studies and time studies to companies that are adding on 150,000 square feet to their facilities. And so I would highly recommend for you to reach out not only to if you've got an industrial engineering program at a local university, but the business side of things too. Typically, I know in Fisher College of Business, we have a logistics path. So there may be some majors that have a supply chain path that you can get capstone program and get students to come in and actively help you do the things that you need to do for, we charge a very small donation request, but you basically get 3 or 4 engineers 12 hours a week for a whole semester long to handle some of this stuff. So we've done just about every type of project relating to production planning, from yield to scrap to even just setting it up, all over the place. So again, for all of you, again, whether you're a million or 100 million, these are resources that you have available to you right now, that if you're thinking about it, I would try to get in touch with them. And if you need any of that help, certainly on the MEP side, feel free to reach out to me and I can make some introductions. So with that, I think that's it. Here's my contact information. We were going to hide my contact information. Here's my contact information if you need me. But ultimately, if you have questions, again, I've been doing this successfully for a lot of clients. More than happy to help, even just an advisory question or two if you have it. But I appreciate the time that you all have given me today to talk a little bit about some of the things that I'm passionate about, and I see clients embarking on to be better at what they do. Anybody have any questions? Bob, how'd I do? Decker? Bob fell asleep. That's how well I did. I can't hear him. Bob can't hear you. He must be in the car. No questions? I know Lori's going to make this presentation available at the end, right? Lots of examples. Again, if you're going down this path, more than happy. And then if you have an ERP system or you're thinking about an ERP system, I can tell you there's a whole other path to go down to really explore the functionality within an ERP system to make sure that if you're going to automate it, what are those things that you want to think about, and what is the data required, and what are the requirements that the system has to do. I have a checklist of about 300 questions that you would typically answer and provide an ERP solution for help with automating all of this.
Tom, this is Chris. Thank you so much for doing this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Houston. I work at Livingston and Haven. We've had Tom on site for us over the course of the last bit of time, and he has done a fantastic job to get us thinking about many things, including production planning. He gets into the granular of the practical, and as well as the uniqueness of what technologies out there that could help. But the big part about it is getting the right team in place to be able to execute any plan. So Tom, thank you for that. On behalf of the Education Committee, I want to thank you all for taking the time to be a part of this webinar. It matters that y'all join. We hope that it is a good use of your time. And I want to encourage you that if there are questions beyond the webinar, to reach out to myself, to Lori, to Tom directly, to Bill Haley, and we can get you connected if you have any, oh yeah, I forgot to ask this. Be sure to go to the website and look up at the upcoming webinars that we're going to be having. There's some good ones coming through the rest of 2024, and it'll be worth your time. If you see people that are a particular topic that'd be good for somebody on your team, please forward that to them. We want to make this available to as many people within your organization as possible. So thank you so much. And other than that, Lori, any last closing things that we need to do?
No, sir. We're good.
All righty. Well, thanks everybody, and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.